So welcome to our September Moto Ikebana class. And this month we're going to honor two things that kind of go hand in hand. When I lived in Japan, at the end of the street, the rice fields had, when the rice was just about ready to bloom, these red flowers called ikebana, which are a red spider lily. Now I don't have a close-up picture of them, but they actually look like, the petals look like like an umbrella that's been wind-blown upside down. And the centers go down, the little stamens in the middle go down, and the petals all go up. And these bloom with no leaves on them, just a stem that comes up from the ground. They are related to the amaryllis family. They don't grow in our zone here, which is zone 6, but they do grow in zones 7 through 10. So that's the reason we don't see them around here. They like it a little warmer. But they do have a bulb or a corm, and the reason the farmers plant them by their rice fields is because the rodents don't like to, if they eat, they're kind of poisonous. They don't like to eat the bulbs of these flowers, so they plant them to discourage the rodents eating their rice crops. But at the same time, when the flowers bloom, it signals that it won't be long before the rice harvest is ready to harvest. So they go hand in hand. And there's a place just outside of Tokyo that has just a beautiful photographic area that people swarm to because the bulbs have multiplied and multiplied, and now it's a destination site to see at this time of year. So end of summer, early fall, this is when they are blooming, the ikebana. And at the same time, because they're near the rice fields, the dragonflies I always like to watch flying around the rice fields near my house. And dragonflies come in every color, but I'll tell you a little bit about the dragonfly. First of all, according to a legend, the first divine emperor in Japan, Jimmu, is said to have stood on the top of a mountain to survey all of Japan. He remarked that it resembled the shape of the tombo, and tombo is the dragonfly. And when they are in flight and they're mating and they're kind of curved together and they're kind of doing a choreographed kind of dance almost in the sky, it looks like the shape of Japan. So they call this Akitsu Shima, and Shima means island, and Kitsu is another name for this bug, the dragonfly or the tombo. But they've seen dragonfly art in Japan on primitive Japanese pottery, so it goes back a long time. The other thing about dragonflies is they are fierce. They are a fierce warrior bug. They are also called the katsumushi, and mushi in Japanese means bug, and it means the winning bug or the victory insect. They're known for their an adept killing of their enemies. So they just go right in and they love to eat mosquitoes. The meaning of dragonfly symbol has been so potent in Japanese culture that numerous brands and companies have incorporated the tombo as their motto or their insignia or their emblem or their moniker. The most famous is the Tombow Pencil Company, and most of my Japanese students all remember the Tombow Impitsu Pencil Company, as well as harmonicas, machine parts, tools, clothing, and many more, all bearing some form of the dragonfly's name and symbol. So I brought with me, of course, I've collected dragonflies over the years, so I have from Kyoto, I have a black lacquer tray that has inside of it with different kinds of gems and things inlaid inside the dragonflies and the little rice growing. So they're hovering over the rice fields in the fall. As well, a bag, some furoshiki, some wrapping cloths, napkin rings, a hook, and also some chopstick rests that are there. As well as some like this little one that you put in a plant, and he's made out of bamboo and wood, and he just looks like he's flying around. It just goes in a house plant, or you can stick it really anywhere in any design. But I bought that in Japan. And then this one was another one with a wire that I bought locally. Well, when I decided to do the Dragonfly, I was out cleaning my windows in my garage. Oh, I have to be careful here because he keeps falling. I went to pick it up at the start of the class and I broke his little body because it's, but you can see how iridescent and beautiful his head is, kind of turquoise and iridescent. It's really lovely. And his wings are, he's just so beautiful. They grow between 1 inch and 4 inches, and they only live for 6 months. So I'll pass that around, and then you can see that I have a towel that also has the little red dragonflies flying above the pampas grass, and with the persimmons or the kaki hanging to dry, and a little cat and a shoji screen there on that little towel. So again, a symbol of fall, a symbol of this time of the year. So one more thing about the dragonfly. The red dragonflies in the sunset. While the dragonfly is forever linked to Japan's most famous warriors, this multifaceted insect has a gentler side. The dragonfly is cherished in Japan as an insect that protects babies. That's because if you didn't have a mosquito net, if a dragonfly were present, it would eat any pest that came around, acting as a guard to the baby. So it makes sense, therefore, that dragonflies are beloved by children too. Nearly 100 years ago, a Japanese poet, Rofu Miki, wrote Akatambo, which means red dragonfly. It has since become a popular song in Japan, and in 1989, it was deemed one of Japan's most favorite songs. So I'm going to play it for you now. You can get on Google and watch it. Just type in red dragonfly. You can all move in closer. There's a Japanese man singing it, and the words are in English because he's singing it in English. There is a verse too, but we'll just stop it there, and you can get on Google and watch it for yourself. But you'll see that little, if you see that little sign, that little picture, you'll know to click on it and listen to it. It's very nice. It's a very lovely little song, and all of my Japanese students knew the song, but they all said, "Don't ask me to sing it."
It's been a while.
Very humble. Anyway, enjoy the dragonfly and the Ikebana. We're going to honor those today, both in our arrangement, our landscape form today. So today we're going to do an arrangement, a nice landscape form that honors both the dragonfly and the Ikebana. And even though these aren't Ikebana, this is as close as I thought we could get to the Ikebana flower. And the thing about Ikebana is it's stripped of its foliage. There's no foliage here. So we're going to keep the foliage that looks good on the alstroemeria, on the red alstroemeria, and then we're going to just take your finger and make a little, and just strip off, if there are any leaves, just strip all of them off, so that they do resemble the beauty of the Ikebana that blooms by the rice fields and blooms in Japan. You're going to want to analyze all 3 of your alstroemeria and see which one is the strongest, healthiest one. And the strongest, healthiest one, you can, if you have a really large container like mine, you just measure 2 times the length and 1 time the height of the container, and that will give you the height of this. If your stem is too shorter than that, just give it a fresh cut at the bottom and then place it right in. You're going to make a flat cut on the bottom, not an angled cut, because you want it to stay straight in the pins. We want it to look like the Ikebanas do growing. So you're going to take, once you get your main heaven line in on your 1 kenzan, then the next one you're going to put in, you simply turn the stem upside down, put the flowers in the, just kind of grazing the top of the water, and then you'll see where you need to cut it. You're gonna cut it right at the base of the red part of the flower, and that's gonna give you the height for your second heaven line on this side. Then after you do that one, you'll take the last piece you have, turn it upside down, compare it to this one, and you'll cut it off right here. See, that's the height of the man on this side. So we have heaven and man, and we have heaven over here, because it's a big landscape form. And this is just a nice section up here, a heavenly section that we have in this space here. Then we're going to take the beautiful monstera leaves, and you should have one that's larger and one a little smaller. And you're going to cut them at a steep angle. Always make sure that the point of your angle on the stem goes into the center portion of the kenzan. It doesn't have to actually physically go in the center, but what I mean is the point of your cut will go into the pins, and then you'll just slowly push it down so that you can have it facing out or facing sideways. You don't want the leaves to touch the container, the edge of the container. And then you want to use, these are real lotus pods, but they've been dipped and then flocked in green, so to look more mossy. And I thought, oh, this color will go very nicely with our landscape form. They actually are, have a stem that's a little wood like a skewer, so it's easy to cut, and you'll cut that off, and you're really going to place those lotus pods just gently resting in the center of the crook of the leaves. So they're not necessarily, you know, they can touch it, but you want to look like it's all kind of together as one plant. And then finally, the last things you're going to put in, you have 7 long stems of lilygrass, and this lilygrass is voluptuous and big and really long. So what you're going to do, it's probably too long, so we're going to cut it about 2/3 of the length. And the piece that you have left over, you're going to take a scissors and you're going to cut a nice beveled edge onto, to mimic the nice point, the gradated point of this lilygrass, so you can look like you have some smaller ones. Now they'll be lighter in color, but they'll still look like maybe a younger stem kind of coming up. Now, the lilygrass is fine and thin, and it probably won't stay very well in your kenzan just by placing them in little groupings. So this is where the pieces that you've cut off of your alstroemeria, you're going to take the pieces and you're going to slice them in half lengthwise, thereby making a flat surface on that stem, and you're going to use that flat surface and then add in your leaves, all staggering your lengths of your lilygrass, and then floral taping onto that just about 1 inch, but leaving open the bottom so that it will hydrate and drink in the water. And then you just push it in like that in several groupings, one in the front, one in the back, one to the side. Then the last thing you're going to put in are the dragonflies, and even though they're artificial, dragonflies, as we learned, come in every color of the rainbow. So you'll take your little artificial dragonflies, and it has a wire on it, so you're just going to place the wire next to the stem and then tightly wrap around, but not too tight to damage the stem. Tight enough to hold it, but not tight enough to damage the stem of the alstroemeria, and wrap it around, and then they look, and make one taller than the other one, and make them look like they're flying in your landscape design. Then the last thing, if you have rocks in your arrangement, and you have a big, or for your container, if you have rocks, place the bigger rocks that look like they're in the foreground to the front to give you a flow. Visually divide your container into thirds, and then place all of the biggest rocks in the foreground and place the smaller little rocks to the back, thereby giving you an optical illusion of perspective of it getting farther away in the back. So in the back third, end up here, but start out over here. And that will give you just that nice flow of like stream going in your in your waterscape. So today, honoring Ikebana and dragonflies, enjoy this September design.